Hi everybody, it's Professor Goldstein with video number 9. I hope you're all doing well today. And you're going to hear something today that you never hear a professor say, or maybe you hear a few professors say, but I'm going to be one of them. I was totally wrong. I got the whole thing about the market going down after, the stock market going down after the Iran, what was going on in Iran, that I thought Monday and Tuesday of this week the market would have taken a plunge because I thought people would have been nervous. They would have been pulling money out of the stock market. The oil prices would have gone up. But in fact, the exact opposite happened the first 2 days. Now, that doesn't mean it's not going to happen ongoing in the future. But right now, the first 2 days, I was completely wrong. And if I had been an analyst and I put my people's money into the market, I would have made money instead, or if I had taken my people's money out of the market, I would have lost them a lot of money, a considerable amount of money, because the market went up quite considerably during the last 2 days. So, and I did what I kind of said to you all, which is a way of earning money, which is that you. When you have money in the market, I have what's called unrealized gains. These are money that I've made that I have not taken out of the market yet, and that money is still sitting in the market. I still own those stocks, and it's actually gone up considerably. So I wanted to focus today on the idea of a corporation and what a corporation means. Now, we did sole proprietorship at the beginning of the semester. We're doing corporation today, and then I'll do partnership later on. But really, what is a corporation? A corporation is a way of creating a business where it's not one owner of the business. It's not even two owners of the business. It usually is a group of owners that own a piece of the business, but the corporation itself is the business. It's almost, in legal terms, it's almost as if you're creating your own person within the corporation. The corporation is responsible for everything. The corporation is responsible for the hiring and firing of people. The corporation is responsible for the day-to-day management of the company. The stockholders get to vote on who is the senior management at the company. The stockholders have a chance to vote on that, but they don't have any say. Well, they can influence, obviously, by who they hire, but they don't have any say in the day-to-day running of the company. Now, if I wanted to sue, let's say, God forbid, you bought a car, and the car, the brakes were not working, and the car caused an accident for you, and you were seriously injured in the accident, and you went to sue. Now, obviously, there are, maybe you could sue the brake manufacturer, whoever manufactured the brake, but basically you're going to sue the car company itself. So let's say it's, Ford Motor Company. Now, when you say you're suing Ford, you're not suing the individuals who own Ford. You're not even suing the management of Ford. You're suing the corporation Ford, wherever that corporation is incorporated. By the way, in the United States, many corporations are incorporated in different states using those state laws. They're usually the laws that are most beneficial to corporations. Many states are incorporated, let's say, in Delaware. Delaware is a huge state for corporations. That doesn't mean their headquarters are there. That doesn't mean they just have to open up a post office box, and they can incorporate and a small office, and they can incorporate in that state. A lot of people are moving. A lot of corporations are moving to Texas now and incorporating in Texas because their laws are very good. When I say very good, I'm meaning that they are good for the corporation. In other words, they're lenient and they have less rules and regulations so that the corporation is able to make more money. All corporations are concerned with, although they say that they're environmental, or that they are concerned with their employees, or they're concerned with consumer. Basically, yes, they are. Those are all things that are legitimate, but all with one purpose in mind, and the purpose is to make money for their stockholders. The stockholders are the most important thing. They don't care about their employees. They don't care about the consumers. They don't care about the environment. Those are not things that are their primary concerns. They may be, as individuals, they may actually be. And there are companies that are very, very, very good and very green and try to help people and do good things. They give to charities and they give, they volunteer their time and energy and their money. But yes, that's all good and well and good. But basically what it comes down to, if a corporation is not making money, especially for its stockholders, then those stockholders are not going to be very happy, and they're going to vote out the people who are running the company and put in people who will make money for them. The only reason you own stock, meaning me or anyone else, is to earn money on the stock. You want to make a return on the stock, and you want to make dividends on the stock, and you want your stock to go up. You're not purchasing stock for the health of it. You're purchasing stock, but you may purchase stock for the health of it, but it really is not a good model for you. You really want to make money on your stock, and that's what a corporation is set up to do. It's set up to make money, to cut the fat. If things aren't going well, then they get rid of it, and if things are going well, then they increase that. So there's all sorts of corporations, all sorts of you've heard of an LLC, a limited liability corporation. And then there's these massive corporations that stretch from Amazon to Ford Motor Company, or to Apple or Google, or any of these corporations that you've heard of. Meta, Facebook. These are all corporations that have grown and grown and grown. And where do they come from? Where do these corporations develop from, and who are they, and what are they? Well, they're you and I. They're everyday individuals. When someone says, the stock market's not doing well, that's not just affecting, the people on Wall Street. That's affecting the people on Main Street as well. That's affecting you and I. It's people, it's teachers, it's sanitation workers, it's firemen, it's policemen, it's nurses, it's doctors, it's every person on the street. Anybody who has a 401k, or anybody who has stock in the stock market. If the market is not doing well, that's affecting all the money you have invested in your mutual funds or your 401ks or any of those things that you have. That really affects the bottom line about your retirement and your life and your livelihood, how much you're worth. And it's very scary when the stock market is not doing well, because that means America's not doing well. And that means the world is not doing well. So you want the stock market to do well. You want things to keep going strong. You want you to continue to make money. And you try to root, I hate to say it, like a baseball team, but root for the stock market, root for your companies. Encourage your companies to do well. And what happens with these companies is they start out with an idea, the aha idea that we talk about, It's this idea that somebody has. A lot of these new corporations kind of get off on starting in garages. This famous story of Steve Jobs and Jeff Bezos and all these others that started their corporations in their home garage. Why their garage? Well, as I said to you before, you don't want to start off your business with rent. Rent is a really tough thing to you have to make your rent every month. Obviously, you have to make your salaries for your employees every month, but even there, if you're starting out a company, sometimes your employees are taking a percentage of the company, and they kind of defer their salary for later on. There's a famous story of Mike Bloomberg when he started his company, his computer company for financial services. A lot of his employees left their jobs to work for him for nothing, just with the idea that they would make money down the road. It's the same thing with Jeff Bezos and Steve Jobs, which was Steve Jobs for Apple and Jeff Bezos for Amazon. They started their companies in their garages because they didn't have to pay rent, and they could work with other people in their garage and grow their company. And both of them had something that really set them apart. They started out as partnerships or sole proprietorships. They were not corporations. Eventually, they kind of each one incorporated. Jeff Bezos started out in his garage selling books, used books. The internet was very young at the time, and he would buy used books from people, from stores and so forth, and then he would sell those used books online. And then he had come from a financial background. He understood that once he built his company up, that he would need more money to keep. I'm sorry, I'm sweating. I just walked. He would need more money in order to grow his company. Most companies, when they reach a certain level, need funding in order to grow. And the way they do that is they go to investors, what they're called venture capitalists. These are institutional investors that have large amounts of money, or sometimes they're individuals who have large amounts of money that are looking for young companies that are starting out that they believe in, and they invest in that company, and they get a certain percentage of the stock when it becomes a corporation. So they may get 10%, depending on what the valuation, how you value the company, how they value your company, what sales the company has made, and so forth. And you've seen this, like, I think on Shark Tank and so forth. What are your sales? How much have you sold? That's how you can. The only way you can value a company is what their sales are and what their profits are. Really, not just their sales, because sales are great to have a lot of sales. But if your profits aren't good and your profits aren't covering your costs, then obviously you're not doing well as a corporation. So they look at these young companies that are starting up, and they invest large amounts of money. They're called venture capitalists. Large amounts of money to grow the company, and they actually own a piece of the company. They own the stock in that company, and they offer advice and help and direction on how to grow your company. That's their purpose as venture capitalists. So both Apple and Amazon both had venture capitalists that stepped in a number of times, a lot of venture capitalists, and invested large amounts of money in both, because they saw that it wasn't just going to be used books for Jeff Bezos, that he was going to expand Amazon to selling other things, and it wasn't going to just be, the basic home computer that Apple was coming up with, but they were going to come up with designs for incredible home computers. But listen, a lot of these venture capitalists make bets on these companies, and you say, oh my God, look, I can make, for $100,000 investment in Apple, I've made $100 billion. Well, yeah, that's one in a trillion. Many of these companies do not do well. A lot of these companies that these venture capitalists invest in go belly up, or it doesn't work out, or there isn't a market for it, or whatever it is. So they make these bets. The venture capitalists are almost like betting on a roulette table, and they're making their bets on different numbers, and they're hoping that one of their numbers comes in and one of their numbers hits, and that's basically what happens. They with these venture capital companies, especially in Silicon Valley and so forth, where all the computers and technology is, they make bets on different small companies that are starting out, and they hope that these companies will grow. A lot of these corporations, how do they grow? Well, they grow obviously with their sales. They grow with the sale of stock. As the company grows, they could sell more and more stock because they're making more and more money, and they could somebody could break off a piece of the stock that they own and open it up to the public to buy. And so these companies grow and grow and grow, and more stock is sold, and they make more and more money. And a lot of times, a lot of these companies buy smaller companies, and that's a great way for them to grow. They find companies that are either in their area of expertise, and they could purchase those companies, or things that will help build their company or expand their company. Let's say if you're a computer company like Meta, you can buy YouTube. That it's not necessarily the same thing that they're involved in when they own Facebook. That Facebook was, but it's something that's similar. It's a social network that they see as benefiting what they already have. So now that they have, they'll have 2 or 3 or 4 new social networks, or they'll go into AI, or they'll go into some other areas. All these companies are developing different means of business. Sometimes they develop it from within. Sometimes they purchase the companies instead of keeping it for themselves. A lot of the companies that you think are still owned by the same people or owned by the original owners are now owned by corporations. A lot of you, hopefully when you develop your own businesses, that's, an idea, a thought. Hey, maybe I can get some investors eventually to invest in my company, and they're going to want to invest as shareholders. They're going to want to own a piece of your company. They want to own a share of stock in your company so that they're protected and you're protected, and that there is a company. And sometimes the people who found the companies are not necessarily the people who can run the company or grow the company. And that's kind of sad. You kind of say, well, that was my idea. It was my baby. I grew it at the very beginning. I watered the plant. I planted the plant, and now it's a plant. Now it's a beautiful full plant, and you want to take it away from me. But yes, sometimes the people who built the company or started the company aren't always the best people to run the company. Sometimes you need people who are outside the company or someone inside the company who's worked in the management of the company to actually run the company. And the founder, and that's the name that all these people are given. The names are founders who started these corporations. Like Henry Ford started Ford, and Thomas Edison started Edison, and Steve Jobs started Apple along with a number of other founders. But they start out and they're called founders, and sometimes they want to step aside. Sometimes they don't. They know that they're not able to grow the company beyond where it is, and they need other people who will come in as CEOs, CFOs, COOs, whatever C it is. And a lot of people who go to like business school and get their MBAs are CEOs and CFOs, chief financial officers and chief executive officers of companies. They've gone to business school. They've learned how to run businesses. They've learned how to grow businesses. Usually the founders are although the founders may have had some sort of business experience, they've never run a major company. Most of them have never run major companies. These founders, they're entrepreneurs. My friend who went to Kingsborough is he calls himself a serial entrepreneur. Now I'll tell you like a little bit about it. So what he does is he takes a large part, he has his own money, and he looks for small companies that he believes in, small things that he believes in, and he will give them money, create a corporation, and own a large share of stock or some sort of position in that company, and then he will help them try to grow that company by offering advice, by offering direction, by offering invitations to meet other people so that they can connect with other people. He knows a lot of people, so that's what he'll offer all sorts of things besides the money to help grow that company so that he makes money off that company. And I can tell you, like, he's bought an MMA, a mixed martial arts company. He's bought a company that does like huge, beautiful dogs for celebrities. He bought 2 yachts that he rents out. That's part of his company. That's a corporation. He's bought apartments and buildings and restaurants and bars that are all under his, and he puts them under different corporations, and they're all run by different people. He owns a couple of hotels in Costa Rica. So he has a couple of different businesses that he is involved in, that he owns stock in, or owns a piece of, or owns all of the stock in it. But they're all over the place. They're in different areas, and he manages that. He has his own, he does his own management of it. But each one of these places is run by individuals that he invested in. And he's been very, some of his businesses have I know one of them that he invested in, which was buying gift cards from people and who don't use that gift card very low, and then reselling them. And that business, which was a great idea, I thought it was a great idea, buying gift cards off on the internet. People could send in their gift cards and get cash for their gift cards, depending on what was on the gift card. I thought it was a great idea, and then he would resell the gift cards. It did not do well. It did not, for some reason, it did not turn out to be he invested a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of energy, and it didn't take off. Not enough people were selling them. They were demanding higher prices, whatever, all kinds of different reasons, but it didn't work out. So, what else can I tell you about a corporation? A corporation allows you all sorts of incredible ability to expand that a sole proprietorship doesn't allow you to do. You can hire people under the corporate flag and not worry. You can hire an HR department to hire the people. When you have a sole proprietorship, you have to do all the hiring yourself, and you have to fire people yourself. Corporation deals with all that for you. So basically, with a corporation, as a shareholder, I'm a shareholder in corporations. I'm sure a few of you are shareholders. You have no responsibilities aside from the fact of voting, really voting for the leadership. But even that is it's really just a phone call or a check on a box or on the internet for 5 minutes. Basically, you earn money or lose money just by owning a piece of the company. You don't have to do any of the heavy lifting. Those people are working for the corporation. They're not working necessarily for you, and you don't have to see them. You don't have to deal with them. No one even knows, except the federal government, even knows what stocks you own. So you don't have to tell anybody in the world what stocks you have. Only if you work for the corporation do you have to notify people when you're buying or selling stock. If you're a private individual, you're pretty much, it's anonymous what stocks you own, what mutual funds you own. And that gives you a sense of you could buy and sell whatever you want, and every single day, and no one's going to point it out to you. I could buy a soda company if you feel soda's bad for people. I mean, I could still buy into a soda company, and no one knows I bought a Coca-Cola or a Pepsi. It really affords you a lot of flexibility in terms of ownership. You could buy and sell stock like that. It's much harder to sell a sole proprietorship business. You don't just sell it immediately. It takes a while. Sometimes it could take years. Sometimes it could take moments. But really, with stock, it's seconds, literally seconds. It's a click of a button, and you can sell your stock or buy your stock. Much different, much more flexibility. So, stock. I want you, again, to follow a stock. Find a stock for yourself. This is not for me. Not for me as your professor, not for me as for your grade, not for you. It's really for you as individuals, students, people who are going to have lives, to follow the stock market. But don't go crazy and look at everything. Like Warren Buffett, he reads a lot. I mean, he's a huge reader. He reads everything he can about each and every single corporation out there. He looks for bargains. He looks for opportunities. I don't expect you to do that. And I don't do that. And I don't know that many people that do that. It's a very hard, heavy lift to do. But I do expect you to look at like one or two companies that you're interested in. Follow them. Think about them. Get an understanding of them. And then look for an opportunity, if you want to start purchasing stock in that company. Doesn't mean you have to. Doesn't mean I'm telling you should. I think that the way to make money, obviously, in life is to invest in the stock market, to buy into it. That doesn't mean you should do it. That doesn't mean you won't make money by not doing it. Other ways to make money in life. Own your own business, grow your own business, buy real estate, buy commodities, buy something else, trade in something else. But the stock market is a good, sound way of earning money over the long period of time, not a short. You can make money short term, and there will be a lot of people that make a lot of money short term, but over a long period of time, if you stick with the stocks that you purchase and you hold on to them, that you're confident that they're going to grow, and sometimes they'll go down and sometimes they'll go up. It's a roller coaster. Not as I said in the beginning of the video, I made a mistake. I got it wrong. But you over time can make a lot of money in the stock market, and I encourage you to invest in the stock market. I do encourage you. I'm going to be posting a video about stock market investment for tomorrow, and then I'll have another video on Friday. And then we'll talk next week about your paper. Actually, maybe on Friday I'll talk a little bit about your paper, the next step. So first step is the aha moment, that moment of where you came up with your business. That's 2 paragraphs long. And the second step is going to be a description of your business. It's also going to be 2 paragraphs long. So first step is how you came up with the idea. The second part of your paper, it's really on the first page, maybe the first and the second page, telling me a little bit about what your business does, how your business is actually working. Talk to me like I'm a child. Talk to me like I don't know anything, because a lot of people don't know anything. So if you're opening up, a pizza company, tell me where you're getting the dough from, how you're making it, where you're making it, who your customers are going to be, how you're going to sell it. Tell me in 2 or 3 paragraphs what your pizza company does, where you're going to do it, how many slices you're going to sell a week. Tell me a little bit about your company, okay? Make sure that, tell me what makes it different also. Make sure that it's simple. Don't make it complicated. As if you were in, they used to tell you in business school, as if you were in an elevator and you had a minute to talk to somebody, 2 minutes to talk to somebody and give them a pitch about what your business is. Make it as like boom, ba boom, ba boom. This is what my business is. It's easy to understand. This is what I do. This is what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be tutoring students at Kingsborough Community College. I'm going to be doing laundry for people. I'm going to be cleaning people's homes. I'm going to be explaining to me what makes your. Why should I care about your business? Why should I be interested in your business? Not necessarily invest in your business, but why should I want to use your business? Why should I think your business is a good business, a sound business? And that's really it for today. Hope you're all doing well. I hope you're keeping up with all your work at school. Hope you're enjoying Kingsborough. Hope you're enjoying this class. I know it's it's asynchronous. We're talking to each other like this, but I hope everything you're learning something from me, and hoping something that will help you with your life. 90% of the classes that you take in life, and I can attest to this because I went to undergraduate and graduate school, you don't remember. You don't remember. I mean, you may remember 1 or 2 little things in your classes, but you do remember things that benefit you. I've always noticed that throughout my years, and I've heard it from other students, and I've heard it from other faculty and people who've gone to college and to university and to graduate school, that they always remember things that are beneficial to them in terms of their life. So if anything I could say to you, any little thing, and even just introducing you to the stock market, anything that helps you in your life, that's really the success of a teacher. Because basically, you just got out of high school, most of you, a couple of years ago, but how much do you really remember from all your classes? You remember your friends, you remember your teachers, maybe. You remember the hallways, but what do you really remember from each of the classes? Some of it, obviously, math, science, it gets in there, but basically, I want you to figure out what I say, if anything, that helps you in terms of your future. And one thing I really do strongly recommend is that you get a hold of your finances. You understand your financial picture. Every single month, every single day, every single week, but really understand how much money you're spending, where the money is going. Are you spending it on leisure items? Do you spend it on clothes, on food, on family, transportation, school? Where is your money going? How is your money going? When you start earning money, you want to start figuring out where your money goes. And always try to figure out a way to save money by investing in something. Not just save money by putting it in the bank. Yes, you should save money by putting it in the bank too. You should always have some sort of cash in the bank. But really saving, cutting something out. Figure out what's the least important thing you need to cut out. But you should be starting right now at a young age, when you have a job, when you first get out of college. you should be starting out to save money for your future any way you can. If there's one piece of advice that Professor Goldstein is going to give you in this class, it's you need to start thinking about your future. I know it's, you say to yourself, there is no future. I'm young, I'm healthy, I don't need to think about what's coming up. Untrue. You need to start thinking about today, tomorrow, the future. And the way you do that, and you plan for yourself, and you plan for your family, and you plan for your friends, and your loved ones, whatever it may be, is by taking a certain amount of money and consciously coming up with good places to put that money. That money will give you a good return. So your money earns you money, and you don't touch that money. That money isn't to be used to buy if you want to put a swimming pool in your backyard or buy a new car. No, you don't touch that money. You keep reinvesting that money, adding more money into it and investing more money into it. You keep earning money, and you don't touch that money until you're a senior citizen and you start needing that money and you're retired, okay? So that's my advice for you for today. It's the best advice you'll ever get. It's not just me who's giving it to you. Anybody who's a smart financial advisor would tell you that you need to start planning for your future, even when you're very young. The earlier you do it, the more money you'll have. The earlier you do it, the more money you'll have. The earlier you do it, the more money you'll have. So start now, okay?